A Cornish Girl, written by Gloria Cook, read by Patricia Gallimore. The moral right of the author has been asserted. Chapter 1. Two figures were hunched over the stone fireplace in the little rough dwelling on the downs. An odd pairing. As always, they were quiet, keeping to their own thoughts. Sarah Kivell, just 21, had been a widow for the last 4 years, and for most of that time she'd lodged with an elderly spinster, Tabby Saul, the herb wife of the village. If not for Tabby, Sarah would be homeless. It was of no concern to her that Sarah had lived with the much older Titus Kivell, the criminal head of a once disorderly clan, before their disastrous marriage. She knew all about Sarah, but she never offered information about her past, and Sarah asked her no questions. It suited Sarah to live in relative isolation. They could only be reached from Meryen by a series of narrow tracks, hacked through straggly banks of gorse, bramble and scrubby willow, off a slightly wider thoroughfare that the villagers called Tabby's Lane. A lane it wasn't, its length being no more than 1,000 yards, and wouldn't accommodate even a small dog cart. The abode, it could hardly be termed a house, was built against a formation of high granite, which made up the back wall, and incorporated the fireplace, set in a low shelf of rock. Against the wall, hunks, and thereafter fist-sized stones made up the tapering chimney-piece. The carefully chosen slabs and boulders of the other 3 walls made the place like a fortress. The roof, of timber and sheets of corrugated iron, slanted gently down from the back wall and was waterproofed by pitch. The door was formed from spliced young tree trunks and barred inside with metal of an arm's breadth threaded through huge iron staples. The floor was stamped earth, but covered from end to end by layers of rush mats and a once fine piece of carpet. The 2 square apertures that served as windows had metal gratings and were covered against the cold by wooden shutters. In all, it was a dark and airless place. To many, it would seem claustrophobic, but it was furnished with the gathered curiosities of Tabby's lifetime, and was not without embellishment and comfort. And here, among the dark blue and claret drapes and cushions, the velvets and damasks that sparkled with gold thread, all booty from shipwrecks, Sarah was pleased to be shut off from the world she wanted no part of. It was rare to be disturbed in Tabby's shack, and usually only then by some desperate soul seeking, as a last resort, advantage of the old woman's remedies or fortune-telling abilities. Tabby was considered by the uncharitable to be a witch. The superstitious feared she could read minds, look into souls, and successfully ill-wish anyone she took against. Another reason for the solitude was that Tabby was an alarming sight. It was known she had been strong in her youth. It was she who had single-handedly built her home and brought its trappings home on a hand-barrow. But her height was now bent with age, and her joints contorted by arthritis. Her wrinkled flesh, sallow from decades of peat and furze smoke, appeared desiccated, and flakes of skin were always scattered about her shoulders. Her shoulders had fashioned themselves into a hump, and her head flopped down to her hollow chest. Her darting eyes, however, remained sharp and clear, and her hearing had not waned. It was rumoured fearfully that she could hear a whisper from any distance. No one could recall exactly when she had set up her home, supposedly having done so with the help of demons, and her age was speculated as being between 80 and over a century. Always in black, with her bonnet ribbons flapping loose, Tabby was not unlike some monstrous rook chewing on 2 fat dangling worms. A gruesome-looking companion, but she was a woman whose heart was big enough to take in a fallen woman. Sarah was shunned by most, and the few who had taken pity on her at her husband's
Sample complete. Ready to continue?